Hello, Horned Frog community. I am Dr. Chris Watts, the Marilyn and Morgan Davies Dean of the Harris College of Nursing and Health Sciences and Professor of Communication Sciences and Disorders at TCU. I've been at TCU for 14 years as a faculty member, chair, and now dean, and my clinical teaching and research interests center on laryngeal function in voice and swallowing with a focus on Parkinson's disease. And I'm excited to lead this panel today to talk more about Parkinson's disease and what people can do about it. We'll have time for Q&A at the end, but if you want to submit a question to the panel, you can also feel free to use the chat to send a question to us. Researchers have estimated that about 60,000 people are diagnosed with Parkinson's disease every year. And because it's a neurodegenerative disorder, that means that symptoms will advance as time moves on. But what if there was a way to intervene?
I am Molly Brown, and I have Parkinson's disease. I go to Punching Out Parkinson's classes 3 days a week. I love it here, and the reason I come is not only for the exercise, but because it's really my home away from home. Being in this program is a lifesaver. It's a life changer, and I think a lifesaver. We've known it for a long time, but now they're beginning to actually prove that exercise does make a difference. We come here to exercise and we feel better. If you get up and you're having a bad day, it's like, go, get up, get yourself dressed and go, because you're going to feel better when it's over. I feel very blessed to be part of the program.
So the overarching goal for my program of research is to expand knowledge of how Parkinson's disease affects voice and swallowing, but then use that knowledge to develop more effective treatments and rehabilitation options. I also created Endeavor Parkinsonology to provide the Fort Worth community information on health-related Parkinson's resources, access to exercise activities, educational seminars, and also opportunities to participate in research. And it's through this work that I met our panelists. First, I'd like to introduce Paulie Ayala. Paulie Ayala is a former professional boxer who competed from 1992 until 2004. And following an accomplished amateur career, he quickly became successful in the pro ring. In 1999, he was voted Fighter of the Year by Ring Magazine after defeating Johnny Tapia in a fight that won Fight of the Year honors. And that full fight is on YouTube, and I encourage you to watch it. Paulie is a World Boxing Association Bantamweight World Champion and a champion with the North American Boxing Federation and International Boxing Organization at 2 different weight classes. He opened Paulie Ayala's University of Hard Knocks in 2004 to train aspiring boxers and also help keep the community fit. Punching Out Parkinson started a decade ago in Paulie's Fort Worth gym. The non-contact full-body workouts are designed to improve movement, speed, hand-eye coordination, balance, strength, endurance, and self-image, all areas that Parkinson's disease can impact. Thanks for joining us, Paulie.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Molly Brown is an alumna from the TCU class of 1964. Go Frogs. She had a tremendous career in education as a teacher, counselor, diagnostician, and administrator. She has served in the Burleson and Birdville ISDs. And although she retired, she returned to Burleson ISD as assistant principal at Mound Elementary and then Stribling Elementary. She retired, this time for real, at St. Andrew's Catholic School as a counselor. Molly was diagnosed with Parkinson's in 2011 and started going to Punching Out Parkinson's classes that same year. Molly, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Dr. Watts. I'm honored to be here.
And Molly found out about Punching Out Parkinson's when her husband, Lance, was helping a friend get into the field of personal training. So Lance Brown is an alumnus from the TCU class of 1967. Go Frogs. As a baseball pitcher for the Horned Frogs, he earned All-American honors and was selected as the 1963 Southwest Conference Player of the Year after winning the conference championship that year. In May 1986, he took over as TCU's head baseball coach. He guided the Frogs to the 1994 Southwest Conference title as the head coach, making him one of only two men to win both the Southwest Conference Player of the Year and Coach of the Year honors. And in 2003, he completed his 17th season as a TCU head baseball coach. Lance, we appreciate you joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Dan Novak, PhD, or Dr. Novak, spent 31 years at IBM, where he worked in executive and international healthcare roles, connecting researchers, providers, and patients. In 2008, he was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, and he started volunteering for the Parkinson's Foundation, where he currently serves as a research advocate, grant reviewer, community volunteer, and as president of the Regional Advisory Board for the Parkinson's Foundation South Central chapter, which covers Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Texas. He also serves on the board of directors for Punching Out Parkinson's. Dan, it's great to see you, and thanks for joining us. So to learn more about the research team, or to learn about the research that I'm doing and my team, and more also about Punching Out Parkinson's, please read TCU Magazine's latest cover story at magazine.tcu.edu. A link to that or URL you can see is at the bottom of the screen. So let's get the conversation started. And first, I want to throw a question out to Dan and Molly. You were both diagnosed with Parkinson's disease more than a decade ago. I'm hoping that each of you could talk about that experience of hearing that diagnosis in the doctor's office. What were your initial reactions and thoughts? And Molly, let me call on you first.
Okay, thank you. I think that everyone can remember that day, and we all have different stories to tell. So my story begins when I went into the doctor's office, and she began to she was a business-like woman who's just like, let's get this going. And, she's talking fast, and she's asking me questions, and she's doing some tests with me as I sit in a chair, and she's having me do my arms a certain way, my feet and my legs. And then she asked me to walk up and down the hall, and we come back to our office, and that seems to be pretty fast to me. And she says, okay, you have Parkinson's. Just like, okay. But I didn't have time to stop and think about it too much because she keeps talking, and she's telling me things that I need to remember. So I'm focusing on her, and she's saying, get this prescription started today, be ready for a phone call for a CAT scan, da, 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 da. So I'm listening to all that. I'm hardly even thinking about what's going on because she's really going through it. She's a wonderful doctor. She became my doctor, and she was a great doctor. But anyway, so then on the way home, I'm in the car, and I'm thinking, I don't know anything about Parkinson's. I have nobody close to me that had it. I've heard stories from my friends of other people, like grandparents and so forth. But I knew really nothing about it except it was a dread disease, and that was about it. So I thought I've got to learn about this disease. I've got to know more. So I guess my background as an educator and a problem solver kind of kicked in. That was my comfort zone, and I said I'm just going to have to be a problem solver here. We're going to have to do what we need to do. So I'm driving home, and when I get home, then that remained really to this day the attitude that I took with that. It was a comfort to me to just be in that educational zone of get more knowledge and see what you have to do.
Thanks for sharing that. Dan, what was that experience like for you?
Yeah, first day of diagnosis is always a shock for people. And one of the concerns is family, and what does this mean for your family? Has impacted people around you. But second is, as Molly just described, nobody leaves a doctor's office with enough information on day one. And I certainly felt that way also. I didn't know enough what to do. I remember asking about exercise, and she wasn't real clear. My doctor was not real clear on what I should do. So I'm grateful to see that now, 10 years later, 12 years later, there's a big difference in the amount of information that's available, both locally through groups like yours and nationally through the Parkinson's Foundation. There's a lot more information out there to help the newly diagnosed people, and that's what we need to help get that out, get that information out.
Absolutely. Molly and Dan, another question for you. How has your life changed since you were diagnosed with Parkinson's? And maybe you could speak about what are the most challenging symptoms or battles that you've experienced. Dan, let's go back to you.
Well, Parkinson's affects every system in your body, and doctors will say it's the most complex disease out there because it does. And I pretty much have one of everything from head to toe. It affects your skin, every system in your body, your cardiovascular system, muscular system, not just your brain, not just your cognitive systems. So talking about Parkinson's is talking about everything in your body. Every day you get up, you're reminded of the disease that you have because you can't get out of bed first thing in the morning, and you're dying for that first round of medication, and you go up and down every 4 hours. Every 4 hours, your symptoms return, and you have to take more medication, more medication. So it affects everything. Go ahead, Molly.
Molly, what about you?
My life changes have been, well, I feel like I'm still working full time actually, because I'm working on Parkinson's, and it's an everyday thing because, as Dan said, it goes away. That's the battle we fight. I think the battle, the overall battle is keep doing it, even though it's temporary, even though it's degenerative disease. It makes you feel good. You can't give up, get with those people who are like you. You have a support group. I mean, do all those things that help you make it day to day. I'm so blessed because, first of all, Lance has bought into that with me. And so our activities really revolve around my class times. And and when we travel, even we try to do like a long weekend and just miss one day, or, so it's really become the focus of my life for sure. And it really is like a full-time job. Symptoms come and go. If they go away and you think, oh, good, that's gone. No, it's going to come back. So just wait. It'll be back. But right now, what's bugging me a lot is I'm so slow. I can't move fast. And I'm stiff. No matter how much exercise, yoga, stretching, I'm still stiff. And I have to mention this night thing. This is kind of funny. This began a long time ago when I first had Parkinson's. Once in a great while, I'd have these night issues. And then they kind of went away. And now they've come back with full force. And fortunately, I'm changing some medicine. I hope it changes. But what happens is this. If I'm sleeping not really well and I get down to the dream area of sleep, I have these dreams. And I usually remember them. And they're not scary or anything. But the next morning, Lance would say, what was going on with you last night? And I'm like, well, I don't know. I had a really good night's sleep. And he said, you were screaming and yelling and you're flailing your arms and your legs are going like you're running a race. And so, I slept really well. Well, then we began to travel, when this is still happening. And a couple of times lately, I've done that in a hotel room. And we're like, oh my gosh, what if the police come and say who's hitting who in there? So it's become kind of a joke with us, but it's not really funny when it happens a lot. It doesn't bother me, but it certainly bothers Lance, especially when I get to the blood curdling scream. So that's another thing that happens with all of us. But as far as symptoms go, there are so many. I mean, when you said skin and eyes, I had cataract surgery and some of that. I'm glad I had it. It's wonderful. However, my Parkinson's affected the outcome of that to some extent. I'm not as free of. I should be better, but it's because of Parkinson's. I'm not. So, we have a shirt that says "Blame it on Parkinson's." So whatever ails us, we blame on Parkinson's, and I'm about to believe it's the truth. Everything does fall back to Parkinson's, but mostly my problem is just the slowness and the stiffness right now that just bothers me a great deal.
And so for the audience out there, at the time you're diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, you will typically have, at least 2 of 3 of what they call the cardinal symptoms. And Molly, you mentioned, I think, most of those. Slowness is one. Stiffness is another, and tremor is another one. Not everybody will have tremor, but many people with Parkinson's do. But you also mentioned sleep disturbance, and this is also very common in Parkinson's, and that's actually one of the symptoms that may be happening before someone even knows that they have Parkinson's disease. Kind of sleep problems can happen years and years before some of the other symptoms appear. So yeah, you're not alone in experiencing that.
That's right. You know, one thing, speaking of that smell, I don't smell, but I didn't smell very much way before I knew I had Parkinson's. And I was, you know, when you're in administration in school, marijuana was a big deal way back then, and you needed to know how to recognize the smell of marijuana. Everyone said, "Oh, it's so strong, it's so strong." I'm like, I can hardly smell it, you know. And so way back then, I knew that I couldn't smell very well, and that is the usually the first symptom I think that occurs. If I'm not, I don't know if I'm right on that or not, but I know it's early on, and it was certainly early for me. So.
Yeah, Parkinson's can affect the neurons of the olfactory or smell system of the nervous system, and so
Mhm.
that's another symptom that people can experience is diminished sense of smell.
Mhm.
You mentioned Lance in your response, and so for Lance, Molly's diagnosis didn't just affect Molly, but as her partner and caregiver, it also affects you. And so I'm wondering what were your early feelings and expectations when she was diagnosed as her spouse or partner?
I don't know. It was sort of like she said, it was, for me, it was, well, what do you need to do? What can I do to help? I didn't have that much knowledge or any knowledge probably about it. And so that was a learning process. What do we need to do to get through this? And what is the plan we do? Paulie had this thing, I think it was Mike Tyson. I'm not a Tyson fan, but it was like everybody has a plan till you get punched in the face. Well, we were sort of like retirement, and we had this is what we're going to do. Well, all of a sudden, we have a little different direction we need to go, but it wasn't like the end of our life. It was just how do we handle this? And hopefully, that I was able to do anything that I could to help Molly get through and do what she needed to do in this situation. So, sort of a learning curve. And anyway, that was about it for us, I think.
Thanks for sharing that. Polly, so your gym trains boxers. Your gym provides fitness training for the community. Anyone can, if they want to train with you and get more fit, they can do that. You also have programs for kids who have some emotional problems, some behavior problems. But tell us how and why you developed Punching Out Parkinson's.
I think Punching Out Parkinson's kind of created itself, and it was from when I started the class to just help a few people that had Parkinson's, and it just focused on a lot of. I mean, each station they focus on hand-eye coordination, balance, conditioning, and then of course foot agility, and but most of all, the confidence. And I think it just evolved from that.
So, Dan and Molly, tell us what your first few classes were like when you got into the gym and started the program.
Dan, you want me to go first, or you want to
Sure, go ahead.
Well, it was great. When I first started, actually the program had just started. I think it had been going on not too long. I had a wonderful beginning. I mean, the whole thing was great. I loved it. But the first day I went, and they were having a going away party for one of the founders. And so Tina came out. Tina was not the one who's going away. She came out to give me the paperwork to show my doctor, and she was very nice. And she kept insisting I go to the party. No, I'm not going back there. But whatever. So, but that was a very nice beginning to have one of the people in the class come out to talk to me in this little waiting room area. Anyway, and she said, "Oh, we need another female. This one's leaving, and I'm the only one left. So I'm so glad you're here." So that made me feel really good. And to this day, we're good friends. And then I didn't meet Paulie. So then when I did go back to class, it's when I met Paulie. He was wonderful. He has a mystique. I call it the Paulie mystique. I don't know what it is. You can't put it in words really what it is. He's a wonderful person who draws everyone to him. Everyone loves him. There's another side to him, and the other side is, as he put it yesterday, we're not here for tea and crumpets, he said. We're here to box. He was teaching our class yesterday, no tea and crumpets, no timeouts, no water breaks. We have water, of course, but there's no official water break. He wants you to achieve high. He wants you to do more than you think you can do. He just gives you confidence, and you try it. I mean, I would never have, I would bet $1 million I would never have done the things I've done. And it's all because of Paulie. So he says it's mystique about him. For 11 years, it's not once has he stepped out of there. So it's real. It's the real Paulie. He doesn't, I've never seen him get mad. He doesn't yell, doesn't scream. I think it's acceptance. You walk in, you just feel accepted at your level, who you are, where you are at this moment. He just accepts you no matter what. And what you do, even if it's horrible, he says, that's good. Just keep after it. I mean, horrible to you, but he's just a wonderfully accepting individual who takes you as you are and makes you better. So I've gained so much from him. Thank you, Paulie. He's just the mystique of Paulie.
The mystique. I guess you don't become world champion eating tea and crumpets every day.
No, we don't. No, we don't.
So Dan, what was it like when you first started? Had you ever done any boxing fitness before, or boxing programs?
I just remember wanting to throw up. He worked us really hard. No, I was totally unfamiliar with boxing. Didn't have a clue on boxing. It had been years since I worked that hard back in the days of college. And so this was like reminding me of the old college days, trying to have a coach push you and push you. He must treat me differently than he treats Molly, because I feel like he yells at me, but it's all in good effort. He pushes me really hard to keep me going and not let me take a day off. It's real tempting to take a day off and coast, and he'll catch me every time.
So I got to TCU in 2008 and started my Parkinson's research program back up here. And as research participants would come into my lab, Molly and Dan, both of you were kind of coming into my lab early, in those days. People started telling me about this program in Fort Worth that Paulie had developed, and were just swearing by it. And everybody who was telling me this came in and they had Parkinson's, but they looked, pretty healthy otherwise, and were in good shape, had a good outlook on things, were very positive in their communication. And so that's really how I learned about Punching Out Parkinson's, were people in my research lab telling me about it and say, you need to check this out. And so I did. For the audience out there, what Paulie's program does is really help with physical fitness. It's a whole body exercise program. And this is the one thing that people, maybe the most important thing that people with Parkinson's can do for themselves, is stay fit. Get fit, stay fit, and be active. It's not disease curing, but physical activity is disease modifying. You can change how this disease moves throughout your body. So programs like Paulie's Punching Out Parkinson's disease gives your body that physical activity that it needs to exercise those neurons that Parkinson's disease is trying to impact. So Paulie, what changes have you seen in Dan and Molly throughout their training in Punching Out Parkinson's, maybe from when they first started with you to gains they may have made over time?
Balance, conditioning, coordination, hand-eye coordination, foot agility, and then, of course, most of all, confidence.
So Lance, what things have you seen in Molly, from day to day, and the impact that Punching Out Parkinson's has had on her?
I think I'd reemphasize what Paulie just said, the confidence. I think at first it was sort of like, I hope this works, to where this really does work. And the confidence day to day to do things, like she said a while ago, just day to day things that you're able to do physically that probably she wasn't able to do when she first went in. And the stuff she does just blows me away, because I can't do those things, I can tell you. But her, belief in this program and what Paulie's doing and all that, it's really made a huge difference in her day-to-day activities. So it's really been amazing to me.
And we are halfway through a clinical trial here at TCU. For the audience out there, we actually have 9 people who had not done boxing exercise or punching out Parkinson's before and have enrolled in Paulie's program. We are following them over an entire year, 12 months. And they're coming in every month for the first 3 months, and then every 3 months after that. And we're measuring whether or not punching out Parkinson's is having an impact on things that Paulie mentioned, on balance, on speed, on strength, on breathing abilities. And we're only 6 months through data collection, but I think the science is validating what Paulie is seeing, what Lance is seeing, and what people have been telling me all of these years, that this program has a profound effect on their body and on their mind. Paulie, when it comes to the ingredients of your program and the gains that you see, what do you think it is about boxing fitness, boxing exercise that has such a positive impact on Parkinson's disease?
I think, like in some of the workout stations, they isolate the some of the things that the as far as the coordination, the focus with breathing as well. I mean, just it focused so much on those things, so it benefits them even more so that on things that we take for granted most.
Yeah, and so from a scientific perspective, we would say that your exercise program has specificity to the impairments that Parkinson's causes. So balance is one of the impairments, and your program actually works on balance. It forces them to concentrate and focus on balance. Speed of movement is another impairment in Parkinson's, and your program is specific to that. Breathing is another one as well. So that's kind of one of our operational theories, is that the reasons why we're seeing some of the trends in the data at 6 months is because your exercise program, this boxing exercise, is specific to the impairments that they are trying to improve. And in physical fitness, strength training, if you're going to improve, you need to do exercises that are specific to the muscle group or motor system that you want to improve. And so kind of that's how we're conceptualizing why this may be having such an impact on the people who are in the study and the people who are in your classes all the time. So for Paulie, Dan, and Molly, what did you learn about yourselves through Punching Out Parkinson's? And let me start with Paulie. So as the trainer, having worked with all of these people with Parkinson's disease for over a decade, what have you learned about yourself?
Well, through all the experience that I've had in boxing, from amateur fighting on the U.S. team and competing at national level to professional boxing, all the experience that I've acquired and training that I've been able to experience with some of the greatest trainers during that time, I've been able to use that, but also just through self-experience of those from those accomplishments, and it's enabled me to transfer it over to this group and just the people that I train here at the gym, and to see it work the way it benefited for me. I mean, it's very rewarding.
Dan, has Punching Out Parkinson's kind of made you realize something about yourself that maybe you didn't know?
Well, the old guys, we tease that if we're ever at a Parkinson's Foundation group, Parkinson's convention, and somebody jumps us in the back alley, we'll be able to stand our own against them. But yeah, it builds confidence in what I'm doing in terms of that arena, and makes me feel more fit and more acceptable, and my balance and so on. The main point I would make, though, is when I started, it was all about me and trying to get better myself. but now it's as much about others and the community that we have. There's always somebody there that needs help, that has a question, and needs something we can help them with. And so that's now when I don't want to go, I still get up and go, and I'm always glad I do.
Yeah, you make a great point about community. What I really love about Fort Worth is the Parkinson's community is a community. They are connected to each other. They're willing to help each other. They will be there for each other. Really, the Dallas-Fort Worth larger community, and we need to get other people connected to this community because a lot of people just don't know where to go for resources, for information. Molly, what would you say you've learned about yourself through participating in Punching Out Parkinson's?
Well, I learned that I was stronger than I thought I was, and I'm probably, in the best shape I've ever been in my life, and that mentally probably also because thinking about myself, it was always giving to others. Like I've led groups all my career of teachers who needed help, or kids, or parents, or all of them. But it was never about me. Now it's about me. And so I'm learning about myself and realizing that I can do what I didn't think I could do. But I've also learned the value of the group and what special friendships we forge and how we care about each other. And we're there because of the exercise and what it does for us, but we're there also to see each other. And so it's a strong commitment there to the special friends that we've made in this group. And I just want to say this about, we're talking about exercise and how, with the research that's being done. I have a new doctor and my other one left town. Anyway, my new doctor I saw for the first time, and her words to me were, you have something, what she meant, so this is my interpretation. She meant to say that my symptoms were not as pronounced as you might think, having had it for 11 years. That's what she was saying. She said, it's because you exercise, period. That was just the end of her statement. I thought that's really profound that she's already saying that. Oh, and so then I felt myself very blessed because I was only diagnosed maybe at the most a couple of months before I found Paulie's program. Lance found it for me and I started. So I do believe that. I mean, I think that being in his program all these years are one of the reasons that I am able to be who I am today, So I really do. I mean, when I say life changing and life saving, I mean, I really do believe that because, and then the doctor said, all she did was read what I had said I did, which was exercise, Yeah.
And that's what I mean when I say that exercise can be disease modifying for Parkinson's disease. If you can find an exercise program, whether it's boxing, whether it's yoga, whether it's aerobics, Zumba, whatever, if you can find it that works for you, that you like it, you enjoy it, and you stick with it, you make it just part of your life, we're finding it can modify how this disease progresses. It can change things, right, for the positive. Lance, a question for you. You have worked with athletes for most of your life. What part of the athlete spirit do you think Molly has gained, or what have you seen in her since she's participated in Paulie's program?
I know that's a very interesting question, but I think, what I've sort of learned about her is she has what I call sort of the inner toughness of a champion. At TCU, we used to talk about champions are made by those who stay after. And what we meant was that people that needed extra work to be good were willing to do it. And Molly she comes back from a workout at Paulie, not pleased with her performance. And the next thing I know, we're watching TV and somebody's jumping rope behind or throwing punches or doing footwork. And I'm going, what in the world are you doing? But if she isn't pleased with her level of performance, she's going to work at it until she gets there. And I think that's sort of amazing because Paulie may even agree that's very few real athletes that take that extra step, that will go the extra mile to be a champion versus just being there. And I know one time, Paulie, I'll end with this, but Paulie told me, he said, you know, I have a bucket list. And I said, what's that? And he said, I'm just waiting for a time in a grocery store when somebody grabs Molly's purse and she just beats the tar out of them. So that's sort of, but I think all of that is, he does such a phenomenal job in giving them that confidence and idea, and her, you know, able to compete and go the extra mile is amazing to me, because I've watched so many, probably thousands of athletes over the years, and there are not many with that kind of inner toughness, I call it, to be a champion.
That's awesome. Paulie, Punching Out Parkinson's has its own room at your gym, and you know, you lead fundraisers, you partner with researchers like me, but you probably didn't start your gym, you know, with this in mind. It just kind of, as you said, evolved over time. So how has Punching Out Parkinson's taken a life of its own and changed the trajectory of your gym?
Well, it's no longer just a boxing gym where we have a competition team. We offer classes for adults, for kids. We do personal training all day, but now we have this program, and so you know it's branched out. That is branched out of our gym. So I mean, I feel that not only has it been able to encourage the people in the group, but also, I mean, through the interviews and how far this is stretched out, the information has stretched out throughout the United States. I feel that it's encouraged people throughout the country.
Yeah, and you know, if people watch the video online of this story, you know, in the magazine, you know, they're going to get a picture of how this boxing exercise program, it's an intense workout, right? I mean, it really challenges the individual, but you've also been able to adapt this to people of different physical abilities, you know, different ages. Can you talk a little bit about how you adapt this to the individual so that anyone, or at least most people, if they're willing to try, can access the program?
Well, yeah, we try to accommodate, you know, as many people as we can. Just depends on mainly the balance issue. But for the most part, we modify as much as we can to where we could accommodate pretty much anyone.
Lance, when Molly first started Punching Out Parkinson's, did you have any reservations about it, or were you just as gung ho as she was?
No, you know what? This is an amazing, that the year that she found out, I was training a pitcher from Australia, and the personal training and stuff over in that building where Paulie was is where we went. And so we walked down this hall, and I look in this door, and I know this is where a world champion boxer is. But I'm seeing him, this man, work with these people, older people, and he is so encouraging. And you know, he won't take no for an answer. They go, well, I can't do this, and he goes, well, I think you can. Why don't you give it a try? And I was just amazed. And she hadn't even been diagnosed yet. And when she did, I just said, you know what? You have got to go see Paulie, because I've watched him through. He probably doesn't even know I was there. I was just watching through the door in the hallway. But it was so amazing how, and you know, I'm going, here's a world champion, and he's dealing with people like me. And I'm going, he's probably going crazy, because I'm thinking about that, you know. But he was so kind and so encouraging that I just told Molly, this is where you have to go. You have to at least give it a shot, because this man is a truly amazing man to watch. And I don't think he even knew I was watching at that time. We would just walk by that hall, the Hall of Horrors, I think, Paulie, from where people had to run up and down, and anyway, all of those things. And I've told people about that. And I tell people also, Paulie is so nice. He's supposed to be so nice and everything, but he has this little deal where he gets in the ring and you have to chase him and try and catch him. And I think sometimes he chuckles a little, And I think Molly is bound and determined she will catch him at one time. So anyway,
Just to make contact.
yeah, just to make contact. No, but it was just, I knew this is where he had to go just by watching him work with those people. It's just, I mean, it's amazing.
Well, it's obvious, and I think both of them mentioned it. You know, Dan and Molly consider themselves fighters, but their main fight is against Parkinson's disease, and they're doing it. They are fighting against it, thanks to Paulie and Punching Out Parkinson's and University of Hard Knocks Gym. So, thanks for sharing all of that, Molly, Lance, and Dan, and Paulie. Thanks for everything that you're doing. We're going to go to the question. I see some questions in the chat box, so we'll open this up to Q&A. I will curate these. What looks like these are people asking other people questions. So let's see. Okay, I've done boxing for Parkinson's in Denver. I've moved to Fairview, Texas 2 years ago. How do you find out about boxing clubs that offer Punching Out Parkinson's? That's a great question. And before this chat happened, I was having this discussion with Paulie. You know, right now to do Punching Out Parkinson's, you got to go to Paulie's gym in Fort Worth. And, you know, I'm hoping that, especially as the science validates what he's doing, I'm not leading the only research group that's studying what Paulie's doing. There's another group at UNT Health Science Center that's studying some of the impact of boxing exercise. You know, I'm hoping that Paulie kind of spreads the gospel of Punching Out Parkinson's. There is an alternative. There's another boxing program called Rock Steady Boxing. You can Google that, Rock Steady Boxing. It's offered at quite a few places. And then there's other individuals. A lot of these people come from physical therapy backgrounds who may have started their own boxing exercise type program. So I would say a good resource to check is Parkinsonology.com. That's the website of the Endeavor Parkinsonology project that I've started here as part of TCU, but also Parkinson.org. That's the website of the Parkinson Foundation. They actually have a lot of resources on exercise, and may have some search engines so that you can find people who are doing boxing exercise in the local area, in your local area. But I will say that I do know that people who come to Paulie's gym will travel a distance, right? I don't know where Fairview, Texas is, but Paulie, you have people come from quite a distance, right, to take part in your program.
Yeah, they traveled from the Metroplex, but the furthest was out of Tulsa. I had a lady travel from Tulsa every week, and she had family in Fort Worth, so she would come and see them. And then finally there was a gentleman who started a boxing program for her.
And there's another question about, you know, how we get connected. Paulie's gym has a website, University of Hard Knocks Gym. If there's the URL, uhkgym.com. The contact information, how to reach them, will be on that website. Also, the contact information for that is on Parkinsonology.com. So you got a couple of different websites that'll give you a phone number, email, so that you can get connected with Punching Out Parkinson's. Okay, I'm going to scroll down. Right. So Dan has said that Parkinson.org, that's the website of the Parkinson Foundation. If you search on Fitness Fridays, over 75 classes are online. So yeah, that's another opportunity for people with Parkinson's who maybe they're limited by transportation. They just can't get out of the house or out of town. Actually, there's a growing number of online exercise options that you can do from your house if you have internet access and a computer. And so Parkinson.org is a website that you can access some of those different programs. So Marilyn Hart says that she visited Paulie's program 3 years ago. Paulie, can you come to Tucson? There's a lot of people who want to box and need a program. There's a need. As I've said this to Paulie, there is a need not only in our greater community, but the nation for evidence-based exercise programs for people with Parkinson's disease. This is what he's developing and has developed. And yeah, I hope that more people in some way, whether it's you going places and training people, you creating something online, I'm hoping there are ways that you can create greater access. So Tucson's calling out to you, Paulie. Maybe there's a trip in your future out there. Grace Cannon asks, how did COVID influence classes? Did your mental toughness change? How about community participation? So Punching Out Parkinson's did have to adapt. I'll let Dan and Molly comment on how COVID impacted the program.
Well, fortunately, Paulie was able to make changes in the facility, and we were able to isolate our group. And so he trained us all. He did all the classes himself, and that way we were able to isolate trainers. So we had a separate room, separate instructors, separate classes, and a real commitment among the people in the group that we were going to stay clean as well as it were outside of the gym, so that we could work together in the gym. We kind of made a commitment. We gave up going out to restaurants to be able to keep our workouts, basically.
And Paulie also made sure that we had, while we were doing the work on the room, we had videos that we could watch at home and keep up with some of the exercises that way. So
okay,
that's what we did.
So Missy Huffman asks, have you noticed the intensity of the workout make a difference in your symptoms? That is, I guess, if you're working harder,
yeah.
Do you notice a greater payoff?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And Paulie, how do you know what intensity to set for the classes? Is it individual by individual, or is there a different thought process on that?
I pretty much read it individually. Everyone's in different stages, but also in their fitness level as well. So what I try to do is just read them, work with them, and see how they're working, and then I'll just judge it by there.
Okay. We have one more question from David Norman. If you don't have access to Punching Out Parkinson's, will general boxing programs help? I'm going to say yes, because boxing, non-contact boxing, is an exercise program. You're gaining physical fitness if you're involved in it. And we know, as I've said earlier, that exercise can be disease modifying if you do it regularly as part of your life and you put a lot into it. So if you can't get to Paulie's gym, and until he spreads this nationwide so that more people have access to it, yes, look for a boxing exercise program. Again, Rock Steady is a good example of something that's available to you. And if not boxing, then find some type of physical fitness program that you can have access to, that you enjoy and works for you. That is the most important thing that you can do for yourself to fight against Parkinson's disease. That's all the questions that I see. Any final comments from our panelists?
I want to say thank you to you, Dr. Watts. We appreciate you and your research. All of the Parkinson's people appreciate you. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Well, thanks everybody for being part of the panel. I really appreciate it. Paulie, again, thanks for everything that you're doing for Fort Worth and the Parkinson's community. Everybody appreciates you. You know that. Audience out there in Horned Frog World, thanks for listening. Thanks for attending. We really appreciate your time. Stay cool. It's 130 degrees here in Texas, but we still say go Frogs. Bye, everybody.
Go Frogs.
Bye.
Bye.